You have 10 minutes.
Thanks. Let's get here. Tánaiste. Last night, as we're all aware, ideas emerged in a presentation of non-papers, or as I would suggest, probably nonsense papers at the moment. Unfortunately, Brexit has now descended into spin, into rhetoric and soundbites, where you'd actually need a PhD to decipher the narrative or to understand what the hidden agenda is, what the subplot is, what the diversion strategy is, and where the dead cat strategy is being deployed. A strategy where, rather than address the issue in the question, political leaders reference something completely obscure and unconnected to the topic of conversation in order to divert attention. This looks like a dead cat strategy, as it completely fails to address concerns highlighted time and time again. Yesterday's leak completely contradicts every piece of feedback and advice that Northern Ireland businesses give to government regarding designated routes, costs and delays, infrastructure or bureaucracy. It simply hasn't been taken on board in this proposal. And if I could quote Angela McGowan, Director of the Confederation of British Industry in Northern Ireland today, who says, and I quote, "Such proposals are an absolute disgrace, suggesting UK government doesn't take Northern Ireland's economy or peace process seriously. No support whatsoever from the business community." As discussed many times in these houses and in Westminster, due to SPS regulation and particularly the agri-food industry, you have a limited number of options. Either you ensure that there is no regulatory divergence on either side of a border, or where you don't need to carry out checks, or you check 100% of the vehicles and trucks crossing that border. But I think, Tánaiste, this actually demonstrates something more sinister. It demonstrates a complete disregard and lack of understanding of the Northern Irish issues. I wonder if this is a template Mr Johnson sees as appropriate for the Scottish border if he pushes the Scots to the point of independence. Or is it a model he would see appropriate between Wales and England because of his direction of travel? Border checkpoints away from the border, a 10 to 20 mile smuggling zone between, surveillance and checkpoints, technology to track and monitor movements. Forgive me if I'm misguided, but I thought we wanted to get away from this nightmarish scenario 21 years ago. To undo all the good work and all our achievements over the last 20 years would be criminal. It would be unforgivable and something I don't believe generations to come could ever forgive us for. It takes strong leaders to make hard decisions. It takes stronger leaders to admit they had got it wrong and that they're maybe misguided. I believe that there's enough good people in Westminster and, as referenced in your comments, in Northern Ireland with the civil servants, that see this car crash coming. I believe they will endeavour to stop the UK falling off this cliff. I think the thing that's important to remember is Parliament is sovereign and must take control. This isn't about individuals, as was referenced. The EU and Ireland have played a straight bat and must continue to do so. They must continue to do the right thing, as they've done up to this point in time. Because when the wind changes, as it has, you have to reset your sails. And where the UK are at the minute, they need to be resetting their sails. Ultimately, the citizens of the UK must be given the choice to make this call, to the united country again, to build relationships with Ireland and with the EU, and to get back on track. Ultimately, the people must decide, and the politicians need to follow their direction based on facts and not fiction or fantasy. Uncertainty, Tánaiste, is order of the day north of the border. Despite the valiant efforts of the civil services, businesses are understandably very worried. And credit must be given to the Irish Government, to the civil servants south of the border, for their preparations and for their readiness in very challenging circumstances and based on very limited information. Brexit will pass, but we all have a responsibility to reach agreements to deliver solutions to the challenges. We all have a responsibility to act for the long term and for the greater good.